Hello everyone, my name is André Beltrami. I am a PhD student at the Federal University of São Carlos, and today I will talk about our paper called Design and Implementation of an Elastic Monitoring Architecture for Cloud Network Slice. So, the first thing, what is the concept of Cloud Network Slice? In order to talk about this concept, I need to first define the term called network slicing. In the literature, we are seeing several works talking about the term network slice. In most of these cases, the term network slices were related to the capacity to share network resources between different tenants and provide end network services for them. Otherwise, the concept of cloud network slicing could be defined as an end-to-end infrastructure, shared or not, composed by three kinds of different resources: cloud resource, network resource, and also storage resource. And then a service could be deployed in this infrastructure considering all those kind of resources. In this figure, we can see four different services running across different slices, such as the Massive IoT in yellow, this one, the V2X slice in green, the Enhanced Mobile Broadband slice in blue, and the Critical Communication slice in form. Both of these slices are using the same physical infrastructure provided by an infrastructure provider A and another infrastructure provider, the provider B. It's important to highlight that one slice could be instantiated among different providers in different administrative domains. For each of these different parts, we are calling here in this paper as slice part. So in the figure we can see the provider A has the slice part A and the provider B has the slice part B, for example. So I already defined the cloud network slicing concept. Now I will talk about the new channels that rose with this new concept. The first one is a new business model called Slice as a Service, such as the infrastructure as a service, platform as a service, and so on. The idea of the Slice as a Service is to provide a platform to create, delete, and manage slices according to the tenant specification. Some projects, such as the Nexus project, the 5GPP project, and etc., are working in some kind of this concept of slice as a service. The second point, as said, we have an end-to-end infrastructure with a huge heterogeneity of resources, which difficult several aspects, such as the monitoring, the management, the orchestration, the slice lifecycle management, and etc. The third point is how to handle the elasticity operations, where elasticity means for us the capacity to grow or shrink the slice resources based on tenancy policies. I will talk more about this term of elasticity. The fourth point is, given the huge heterogeneity of resources, we will have several technologies being used by different infrastructure providers, such as virtual infrastructure managers and one infrastructure managers, different monitoring tools, and so on. Thereby, the research question that we try to answer in this paper is how to monitor the infrastructure of cloud network slices considering the resource heterogeneity and also the capacity of growing or shrink the components. Now, in more detail, what is the cloud networking slicing elasticity in our context? In this work, we are considering 4 types of cloud network slicing elasticity. The first one is the vertical elasticity. The vertical elasticity is the capacity to growing or shrinking resources in the same slice part. As we can see here. Here we can see a slice with 3 different slice parts. The vertical elasticity occurs in the same slice part. So, in the case of adding a new resource, we have the vertical elasticity scale up, as you can see here in orange. And when you have to remove resources of the same slice part, we call vertical elasticity scale down. On the other hand, what is the horizontal elasticity in our context? The horizontal elasticity is the capacity to adding or removing slice parts. In a similar way, when adding a new slice part, we call horizontal elasticity scale out, as you can see here in yellow. And when we try to remove a slice part, this operation is called horizontal elasticity scale in. Now, I will talk about the architecture proposal in a simplified way, and I kindly invite you to read our paper to see more details about the components and the interactions. So, I will give you an overview of the architecture and the main capabilities of telling a small history for you. Suppose we have the healthcare slice. The healthcare slice is composed by 2 different slice parts, one located at the infrastructure provider A and another one located at the infrastructure provider B. And our architecture was assigned to start the monitoring the healthcare slice. So the orchestrator received the request to start the monitoring components for that specific slice. The engine controller receives the request and then instantiate for that slice one slice measurement aggregator and n number of adapters. Basically, one adapter for each slice part way. How about the implementation? All the components were implemented from scratch using Python. We choose to follow a microservices approach in our proposal. So the slice measurements aggregator and the adapters were instantiated inside Docker containers and are running as process. We implement 2 different adapters, one adapter for Prometheus and another for NetData. Those 2 monitoring tools are part of the Cloud Native Computing Foundation and are being widely used by the community. To distribute the metrics from the adapters to the slice measurements aggregator, we use the consumer and producer approach. More specifically, we are using the RabbitMQ. And finally, as the database, we use the InfluxDB. Okay, now about the evaluation process. In this paper, we evaluate 3 aspects. The first one is the time required to scale out or scale in the monitoring components when we increase the number of slice parts. The second analysis, we vary the number of slices being monitored and measure the impact of instantiating or removing one slice in scenarios underloaded or overloaded, varying also the number of metrics being monitored. The third result comprises the time between sending the metrics to the RabbitMQ until they are inserted into the database, varying the number of slices and the metrics being monitored. So the first graph, we can see on the left side the scale in method and the right side the scale out method. We can also see two colors representing two different monitoring entities, the Prometheus in green and the net data in orange. The idea of this graph was to add or remove slice parts and collect the time to the monitoring components, adapt to these changes, and instantiate all the components needed. We vary the number of slice parts from 1, 5, 25, 50, and 100. And as a conclusion, the times to scale in and scale out the slice part are most equal, considering the same number of slice parts in different monitoring tools. The second graph evaluates the time to start and stop the monitoring components of a new slice with one slice part monitoring metrics in overloaded scenario, which means the number of slices already being monitored was from 1 to 100 and the number of metrics being monitored was 10, 100, 1000, and 10,000. As a conclusion of this graph, the time to start the monitoring component is 2 times greater than the time to stop the monitoring components, and also the number of metrics being monitored by the components does not impact the time to start and stop the monitoring components for one slice, even changing the number of metrics being monitored. In the last graph, we show the time to handle a large number of metrics in overloaded scenario. In our case, overloaded scenario was related to our infrastructure are already monitoring and collecting metrics from 100 slices or 50 slices or 25 slices and so on. So we have instantiated the monitoring components to gather metrics from 100 different slices and then do the tests. So as you can see, when we increase the number of metrics, the time to handle them also increases in all cases. However, the difference between scenarios with 1 slice until 50 slices is very close. On the other hand, when we are monitoring 100 slices at the same moment, the time to handle the metrics increases for all the number of metrics being monitored, highlighting the case with 100 slices with 10,000 metrics being monitored, where the increase when compared to the same scenario with 50 slices was almost 25%. In summary, if our infrastructure was monitoring a lot of slices, the time to send the metrics to the RabbitMQ until they are stored in the database will increase according to how many slices our infrastructure are monitoring at the same time. Concluding, we design and implement an architecture for monitoring cloud network slices considering important aspects such as the capacity of the architecture handle with the elasticity operations, and also the capability to consider multiple administrative domains and technological domains, and also considering different providers and monitoring entities. As future work, we can highlight the intention to monitor also the services running across the infrastructure and explore the reconfiguration of the adapters and integrate these components and this architecture with a real slice orchestrator. I would like to thank the next project, the RNIP, FAI, and GTIC for financial support, well for attending, and now I am available to answer some questions. Also, I would like to invite you to watch a demo about this work tomorrow in the Nons Demo session. And that's it. Thank you very much.